How's it going, everybody? Texas Man here. I hope that you guys are all having a spectacular day. If you guys would, please give this video a thumbs up if you guys do really enjoy it. Subscribe if you guys have not already. Also, do me the biggest favor of all, hit the bell notification button. Make sure you guys select all for all notifications. That way you guys don't miss out on a single video or stream here on the channel. And as always, we're going to be talking positives and negatives, talking about one of my favorite shows when it aired, Heroes, all 4 seasons. So we're going to be diving into the positives and negatives and discussing some background information when it comes to the show. I ended up watching all 4 seasons when it did air between 2006 and 2010. And I just was able to secure all 4 seasons on disc, and I rewatched the show from start to finish with my family that never got to watch it from start to finish completely. And wow, it's a show that I think is remembered for being both good and bad, and I always liked the Heroes show. I always enjoyed the universe. Unfortunately, even when I was watching, I was like, okay, there's some magical ingredient that's missing. Something's not staying. Some sort of element, some sort of component to the show is missing. And unfortunately, now that I look back at history, there was a writer's strike going on at the end of season 1. So that kind of does explain the unfortunate demise of this show. But there are other things that are in the show, writer or not, that I think contributed to the fall and demise of the show. So for those of you who don't know, Heroes was supposed to be the next Lost. It had several people behind the scenes, that actually wrote, produced, and directed Lost. And so you had those people that knew how to create very complex, grounded reality thriller drama like television to make something like that, but give it a X-Men like twist to it, where people had abilities. The problem is the show aired on NBC. It was only supposed to have 1 season, but because of constant changes within the company that was producing it, the finale even got changed. The story was changed. Things constantly were being changed around, and when the finale of season 1 rolled around, it was changed so that way Sylar, the main villain of season 1, was to survive, and most of the heroes survived to keep the show going. So the original thought was just to have 1 season, and that was it. But of course, that wasn't good enough for, the corporate heads. So after season 1 was such a gigantic success, even though there was the writer's strike, they wanted to make Heroes into a 10 season long endeavor, and they also wanted to make it where every single season was supposed to be a different group of heroes/villains. That's why if you watch season 2, there are so many different characters with abilities, heroes and villains, thrown in, but they don't have a lot of screen time because they kept most of the characters from season 1 alive. It's just a confusing nightmare of a mess, and I just don't understand the logic behind why they did those certain things during the show. The fact that the show just constantly was being changed around to fit the corporate agenda really just confuses what was supposed to be a 1 season thing. So for those of you who don't actually know what Heroes is, it's a show that focuses on people from across the globe, each with a superhuman power. And they're trying to hide their powers from the rest of the public, while there's also people that are wanting to use their powers to prevent foreseeable disasters from happening. The show started strong. I want to say that. I think this first season is an amazing 10 out of 10. I love the first season. Like, if you just watch the very first season of Heroes, just that, it's an awesome piece of media. It's an awesome adventure. It's great. It's awesome. But season 2 kind of started the unfortunate downfall of the show. Not only did it have to deal with the fact that there was the writer's strike, which means the show went from having 22 to 24 episodes, season 2 has 11 episodes. 11! 11 episodes. So, in those 11 episodes, they tried to cram in like 4, 5 story arcs, and it just doesn't work well. You have a whole time travel shenanigan. You've got people trying to get from Mexico to the United States. You've got Dr. Suresh doing scientific experiments on himself. And there's other things happening I can't even remember. There's so many different arcs and whatnot in season 2 that it's just a complicated nightmare. And because of that, season 2 is going to get a 9 out of 10. Season 3 ruined the show greatly. And I don't think I'm the only person that's going to ever say that's actually watched all 4 seasons, because season 3 really lost my interest. Season 3 is where I'm just like, okay, I checked out. Even when I was rewatching it, and even my family was like, okay, this is just getting boring. It's getting ridiculous. And another problem with season 3 is it retconned and changed the events of what happened in the first 2 seasons. So it's like, okay, this character's doing this for this reason, but in season 3 we've come to find out, no, they're doing it because of this, and because this character killed that character, and this person's in love with that person instead of this character being in love with that person. And I'm just like, you think people thought that Lost was complicated and confusing to keep track of who's doing what and why? Let me tell you something. Heroes is worse. I even remember there's a kid in the first season, and he has the ability to communicate with machines. He can communicate with machines. Well, he's featured briefly in season 2. He also is in season 3 as this mastermind computer hacker trying to take down the government and keep everybody that has abilities safe. He's not even in season 4. He just literally falls off the grid. It just... Season 3 is just a disappointing mess. So it's going to get a 7 out of 10. And season 4, I'm giving a 5 out of 10. Season 3 and 4, they have tons of forgettable characters. There's numerous plot holes. Like the beginning of season 3 shows Hero going back in time, and he finds out that his friend is going to literally wipe out the world using some sort of powers that he hasn't gained yet. And Hero's friend is going to do it in Japan. Well, that plot line never gets resolved in season 3, not even in season 4. They just make it where, okay, his friend just can never go back to Japan. But the problem is that he ends up going back to Japan with Hero to start up a company, and he falls in love with Hero's sister. It's just... and then the tragedy event of him killing, the world never happens. It's just plot holes. I think the villains in season 3 were extremely forgettable. Same thing with season 4's villain. Very weak motivations, very predictable of who's going to defeat you kind of thing. Season 4 also introduced a very unnecessary gay subplot that, while it is tied into the plot and to the characters, and if you've seen the show, you know exactly who I'm talking about, it comes out of left field. It just comes out of nowhere, and it did not feel necessary. It's just one of those things I think they threw in there to help pad out the runtime, unfortunately. Yeah. So overall, I think Heroes, while it started off as a very cool concept where it was showing characters and telling different characters' lives and slowly merging them together for some sort of like climactic battle over time, season 3 and season 4 definitely just felt very mediocre slash average, and it didn't feel like the same energy, thought, and love and care was put into the last 2 seasons. Lastly, I want to talk about the fact that the show doesn't have the proper ending. There's no proper ending to the characters, to character arcs, to plots. Like I said, they greenlit the show to have 10 seasons. There's only 4. Yes, there is a quote unquote reboot slash sequel of Heroes Reborn. I don't plan to ever watch it. I never watched that when it aired because I thought, okay, you've basically killed your franchise off by just saying to be continued at the end of the final episode for season 4. The show did live on in comic book form, which is kind of how the show kicked off. Especially for the first 2 to 3 seasons, it was in a comic book like format. Season 4 just completely ditched it for some reason. I don't understand why, but the show did live on. The characters in the universe of Heroes did live on in comic book form. They brought it back for Heroes Reborn, which I don't ever plan to watch and review unless you guys want me to. If you guys do, let me know in the comment section down below. But it felt like a very disappointing conclusion, if you want to call it that. So at the end of the show, Claire, the cheerleader that can't get, killed or die because she has self-regeneration power, she ends up at the very end showing to the world that she drops again from a very tall building. She falls and crashes into the ground and doesn't die. So she leaks to the world that she's not completely human, and then there are heroes and there are villains with super abilities out in the world. And I guess it's kind of a decent enough ending for a season, but it's not a good enough ending for a show. And I just wanted more. I wanted more from this show. There was so much potential that I don't think they tapped into when it came to Heroes. It is something that I think, like I said, if you watch the first season just in isolation, it's really good. Season 2 kind of gives a lot more backstory and lore to characters from the first season. Season 3 tried to do that, but unfortunately it did it in a very boring and very dragged out way. And season 4 just was a constant downgrade in quality from character arcs, motivations, plot lines, production value, and just general interest and care about what was happening in the prior seasons. So, like I said, season 1 gets a 10 out of 10, season 2 a 9 out of 10, season 3 gets a 7 out of 10, and season 4 gets a 5 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comment section down below. Do you guys agree or disagree with me on anything I've said in this video? Have a great day. I look forward to more videos and streams out soon. Bye, guys.